A few of you have informed me about this story right here, and this is probably like the ultimate swirling nightmare of a story that I have ever heard in my life. Now, a lot of times when you come across these nightmare stories like this is usually where one of the spouses, and a lot of times it tends to be the black spouse or the person in the relationship who ends up dead at the hands of the white one. But this one is actually way worse than that. And because it deals with this woman's children, and it is that bad. So in this picture, you see Gloria Williams and her boyfriend, Brian Coulter. And they got hit with a slew of charges. And you know what? I'm not even going to try to break down what it is. I'm going to just go ahead and read this article word for word, starting with the title. House of Horrors. Mother and her gangster wannabe boyfriend with family over everything tattoo were picked up by cops in Houston library surfing internet stories about their crimes. This article was posted today on October 27th, 2021. Now, before I go any further, Water Sniper, who some of you are probably familiar with, he posts a lot of videos involving people who are swirling on his YouTube channel, and he posted an almost 7-minute video of this woman cooking steak for this guy. And when I'm hearing him talk, because he's the only one really talking, I couldn't really get past like 2 minutes of it because it looked like a straight up minstrel show. This guy literally was trying to be every type of stereotype of a black man that he possibly could. I'm talking about from the vernacular to how he was talking with the quote unquote black accent. He had the grill in his mouth, like everything that a lot of these women claim they don't like in black men, but will go out and get a white adjacent version of a black man to try to imitate the stereotype of one. And you notice that a lot of times when people of other groups and ethnicities imitate black people, they always like to imitate, well, for the guys, the hood gangster black man, and for the black woman, it's a ratchet ghetto chick. They always do that. I've always noticed that. It's never the black person who is far removed from that. I mean, think about, shoot, you can even think about the movie ATL with the new character played by Lauren London. She grew up in a very affluent household neighborhood, but she would always go to the hood with her friends and act like who she was not. And you have black people who act just like that, unfortunately. But you also have other groups of people who do the same thing as well, knowing damn well they probably never even grew up in that life. I mean, this guy was even saying the N-word a few times in the video as well. But like I said, what I'll do is I'll link the video and y'all can go watch it for yourself if you choose to. So let's go ahead and get into this article. The couple at the center of the shocking Houston House of Horrors case were picked up by deputies earlier this week at a public library, where they said to have been looking up news articles about the discovery of the decomposing remains of the woman's dead son in an apartment also housing his 3 starving and abandoned siblings. So right there off the bat, one of her children was dead. They found dead, decomposing, which means he was there for a while. I believe they said he was there for like a year, decomposing. And his other siblings were starving. But remember, in the video, she's cooking food for him. So while her children are starving, she's in there making steak for him and her. Brian Coulter, age 31, on Tuesday was arrested and charged with felony murder in connection with the death of the 8-year-old child, identified in court documents obtained by Daily Mail as Kendrick Lee. His bond was set at $1 million. He doesn't need a bond, and if she has a bond, she don't need one either. Coulter was not present in court on Wednesday because he was undergoing a mental health evaluation. They've already started with the palm colorness with this guy, even though in the video you couldn't tell that's what he was. If you was to close your eyes and just listen to the audio, you would swear that you probably thought it was a black guy talking. But then again, probably not. Gloria Williams, age 35, Coulter's girlfriend and the victim's mother, is charged with injury to a child by omission and tampering with evidence, a human corpse. She is expected to appear before a judge later on Wednesday. Now, like I said, this video is being recorded on the day that they appear in court, so I might have to do an update and throw that in there somewhere if there is an update that comes from this. The two were previously questioned and released hours after investigators performed their welfare check on Sunday, during which they made the gruesome discovery. Williams' 15-year-old son, who had been caring for his two younger brothers with the help of a neighbor who had brought them food and charged their cell phone when the electricity to their home was cut, called 911, prompting the welfare check on Sunday. And all of these kids that she has, are black. Like, these are no children that she has with this man. Like, I'm looking at like the picture, they kind of have them covered up, but you can look at their arms and they are her kids, probably with another man or other men, because she probably the type that gets around. But look at how she acted and how she treated her kids when she got with him. Look at where she put her kids way down the totem pole or the priority pole and elevated Zaddy. So much, in fact, that one of her children ended up dead. A criminal complaint filed against Coulter alleges that on November 20th, 2020, he murdered his girlfriend's son, Kendrick, by punching and kicking him to death. Separate complaints against Williams accused the mama for concealing her son's death, starving one of her other children, and failing to protect a third from injury. According to additional court filings, Coulter and Williams left the 8-year-old boy's body to rot in a closet and then abandoned the woman's other children. Court documents obtained by Daily Mail indicate that Williams was charged twice for failing to enroll her children in school. The filings also reveal that the family includes a daughter who was 17 years old now. A Leaf Independent School District told KTRK that in 2019 and 2020, the school district filed truancy papers against the siblings' mother because two of them, a boy and his sister, were not attending school. The children were last enrolled in May 2020. So her kids have not been in school for over a year because she did not enroll them. Probably because of all the abuse going on and they knew people was going to ask questions. Both charges were later dismissed due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Recent social media posts show that Williams has been referring to Coulter as her husband, and the two even got matching warrior tattoos. Coulter's collection of body art also includes the words loyalty and family over everything. His Instagram page, which was last updated in August, depicts the murder suspect showing off his jewelry, listening to hip hop, and making unintelligible comments. The Harris County Medical Examiner's Office on Tuesday ruled that Kendrick Lee, age 8, suffered multiple blunt force injuries, resulting in his death by homicide. According to a report from the victim's 15-year-old brother, he and his two surviving siblings had been living with his decomposing body in their apartment for a year. Shortly before the teen called 911 on Sunday, he texted his mother to tell her he could not take it anymore. It has emerged. The call led to a series of disturbing revelations, including that the three children ages 15, 10, and 7 had been left to fend for themselves for several months, relying on food donations from unsuspecting neighbors to survive, while sharing an apartment with the decomposing remains of their sibling, even as their mother and her boyfriend lived just 15 minutes away. So they were not even in the same home. She had her children living in some abandoned area where she and this guy were not living at, with the decomposing body of their dead sibling for over a year. And they were starving. They had to rely on other people to help them out. That's why I said this has got to be one of the worst swirling stories I have ever heard. Detectives with the Harris County Sheriff's Office questioned the couple before releasing them on Monday, pending the outcome of the criminal investigation. Child Welfare Services in Texas have also launched an investigation into the horror found at the apartment complex on Houston's west side. Erica Chapman, who lives at the City Park Second at West Oaks Apartments, says she was among the people who had been feeding the malnourished 15-year-old, not knowing he was living with his two younger brothers. The first time I saw him, he was sleeping on one of the slides, Chapman told KTRK. Chapman says she noticed that the teen's mother was rarely home. She would occasionally show up bearing noodles, snacks, and drinks. The abandoned teen would run downstairs to pick up the food and then return to the apartment. About 6 months ago, Chapman says she started offering the 15-year-old food, but she said he refused to accept cooked meals, only agreeing to take packaged snacks, fruits, and pizza. Trevor Thompson, another neighbor who had been helping out the boy, told the station the child was paranoid and feared getting poisoned. See the trauma that she put him through? You see the trauma right there? He said he feared getting poisoned. Probably because of, who knows, not only what she bought, but what she said. Excuse me, what she was saying to these kids. Thompson said the teen knocked on his door one day asking to borrow a charger. After that, the neighbor said he forged a bond with the boy and started offering him food. Both Thompson and Chapman said they had no idea they were two younger children living with the 15-year-old. Thompson recalled that on one occasion he asked the teen if he liked pizza he had given him. And he asked, "What? The first pizza we had?" Thompson recounted, "That made me wonder why he would say we." Chapman speculated that the teen may have concealed the existence of his brothers because he was afraid of being blamed, punished by his mother, or separated from his siblings. The neighbors said they never called the authorities because they did not grasp the severity of the situation involving the teen, who was described as quiet and discreet. "I didn't want to push him away by asking questions because I knew he was starving and needed food. All three surviving siblings were taken to a hospital for treatment. They were said to be malnourished and injured, and the 7-year-old had broken bones in his face." According to investigators, the 15-year-old said that the parents hadn't been living at home for months, effectively abandoning the children to be on their own. When police arrived to the home on Sunday afternoon, they found the brother's skeletal remains out in the open. The two younger boys appeared to be malnourished and showed signs of physical injury, according to law enforcement officials. It appears that they were basically fending for each other. The older sibling was doing the best he could to take care of the others. Authorities have not said whether or not they were looking for the children's biological father. Connecting all the dots, it seems they were in there while the body was deteriorating. HCSO is now investigating to determine the circumstances that led to the death of the minor and how long the kids had been alone. To ensure the safety of the children, the Department of Family and Protective Services is seeking emergency custody of the 3 boys. Child Protective Services does have the history with family, but there was no active CPS investigation at the time the children were discovered alone in their apartment. Residents of the area said that management had been doing inspection rounds in the area for the last couple of weeks. A neighbor living next door to the siblings told KTRK she had no idea there was anyone occupying that unit, let alone children. The neighbor in the apartment complex told the station KTRK that she complained for months about a foul odor emanating from the unit where the shocking discovery was made over the weekend. She said that 13 or 14 months ago, she first noticed a foul odor wafting from what she thought was an abandoned apartment. The smell was so bad, the woman said, that she would be forced to turn off her air conditioning to prevent it from entering her apartment through the vents. The neighbor says she complained several times to the building's management about the smell, but it's unclear if anyone had gone to the unit housing the siblings to inspect it. Police said the investigation is still in the preliminary stages. Very horrific situation here, very tragic. I've been in this business for a long time, and I've never heard of a scenario like this. It really caught me by surprise, said Gonzalez when addressing the media on Sunday evening. We are trying to identify the next of kin to determine exactly what happened and how we got to this point. We're going to make sure we conduct a thorough follow-up investigation. Whew. Oh my God. That was a lot to read. That was a lot to take in and really digest what I read. This story is probably one of the most horrific horror stories I have ever read. This right here is a whole horror story in and of itself, and how ironic that I'm reading this a couple days before Halloween. Like, this is crazy. Look at the lengths in which she did to be with this POS at the expense of her children. This guy is responsible for the murder of one of her kids, and she stays with him and let the dead child stay in there and decompose with the other siblings. And while they stayed 15 minutes away, and the only time she came to see them was to drop off food And that food was only supposed to last them for what, a couple of hours? And she probably didn't come over every day. She probably came over like once a week, if that. This is so scary. I feel so bad for these kids. They are going to be traumatized for the rest of their life. They are going to need to have lifetime therapy sessions. Think about it. They had to stay in an abandoned apartment with their decomposing dead sibling. They barely had any food. They didn't live with their crap mother and her crap boyfriend. She had them literally separated from her just so she could be with him. And like I said, in the video that I'm going to post in the link, you will see that she's cooking steak. And the steak don't even look that good either. She's cooking steak for herself and this guy right here. And mind you, she took them crumbs. And you can tell she's not all that stable because here she is 35 years old and she got 4 or 5 kids. The oldest being 17 because they only mentioned so it sounds to me like the 17-year-old the daughter, it doesn't sound like she was there. And only the ones that was there in that apartment was the boys. And the oldest boy that was there was 15. And one of the boys who was 8 was the one who was dead because of him. I'm absolutely just stunned and blown away by this entire story. This story is absolutely, it's scary. Because it's crazy because I'm sure there are other stories out there like this. I'm sure there are. And I know there are. But this is like, it's just crazy. Like I said, this is beyond swirling gone wrong. It's beyond that. I don't even know what category I could throw this in. But to call it a house of horrors, that's almost an understatement at this point. Because when you get to the depth and the details of this entire situation, it's a miracle that the other siblings even survived. Like, she literally threw away her kids to be with that. A person who out here perpetrating a fraud, pretending to like sound like that of a black man, and he's responsible for the death of one of her kids, and even then, she still abandoned her other children. She didn't pack up her stuff and leave and press charges on him. She let this man kill her child, and she stayed with him and separated herself from her children and put them in a whole nother location 15 minutes away. 15 minutes. 15 minutes. Meaning she would have to drive to get to them. Wow. Wow. I hope nothing but the absolute purest of hell, purest form of hell and torture falls upon both of these individuals, but especially her. Because these are her children that came out of her womb. And she allowed this guy to torture and kill one of her kids and then separate herself from her other children. And I wouldn't be surprised if he made her do it, but at the end of the day, those are her kids. She should have had the final say, like, look, this is how it's going to be, and so on and so forth, but she didn't even do that. She allowed that to continue and fester on, and look at what look at her. She got that blonde hair in her head, knowing damn well that's not even her natural hair color. Man. But I hope some people, like, because listen, it's no way they gonna walk away from this. I want them both locked up. And this happened in what, Texas? This happened, let me make sure that I got this correct, because I want to make sure this did happen in Texas, because I think Texas does have the capital punishment. So I truly believe that if that's on the table, one or both should definitely get it. And if not, life in prison without the possibility of parole, Gen Pop. Nothing less than that. Y'all let me know what y'all think about this down in the comments.